Hello everybody. In this screencast we're going to look at implicit intents. So implicit intents, in comparison to explicit intents you don't specify the class name. Instead you specify, you say I want a class that is able of performing this action. I want an activity, I want to start an activity that's able to open or able to handle this kind of action. And in that case, the Android system will look at all the activities that had advertised that they're able to perform this action, and then they become candidates to be displayed, right? So in that case, it is more of a soft binding between activities, right? Instead of the class name is a hard binding, meaning that you want this specific class. But in implicit intents, it's a little bit different. It's you specify what you want to do, and then the Android system will figure out who can perform this task for you. Okay. So let's say we had our previous example. We had the main activity and the second activity. Let's also change the title. What if I want to change the title? So I could say set title, right? And I could say this is the main activity, right? Just to so that instead of just showing demo app at the top here, it will show main activity. And same story with the second one. I'll just go here and say, and this is the second activity. Okay. So now if we run it, I didn't change it yet. It still does the same thing. It's still an explicit intent, right? So you see here, I could change the title. Okay. So now let's have a look at the manifest. The manifest is where we assign or we initialize this intent filter, and this where we advertise what we're able to do. So basically, if you look at your manifest, you could see that the manifest has two activities, the main activity and the second activity. So now the intent filter here inside the main activity is what makes the main activity execute first. Why? Because it has advertised an intent filter, and inside that intent filter, it is the main, okay, and it's launcher. So the category is launcher. So basically, you specified here that this is the main, this is the launcher activity. Now, if I change this, if I cut this intent filter from here, and I put it in the second activity, and I run it, you'll see now the first activity that's going to run is the second activity, right? So basically, that is this is an implicit intent. So basically, what happens is that when the app is starting, the Android system looks for the activity that is a launcher, right? Activity that advertises that it can provide a launcher, and then that activity gets displayed. Okay. So now let's go back, make the main activity the launcher activity. Here it is. Okay. And then here in the second activity, let's create an intent filter for it. Okay. So here's intent filter. Where it is. So I created an intent filter, and then we add an action. Okay. And then basically in the action, we give it a name, right? And the name is usually the package name. So basically com.example.demo app, right? That's the package name. Then .action, and then you give it an action name. Let's say, .intent, .action, then this is a standard of how you write these, what do you call it? These actions, right? Very similar. You see here, Android.intent, .action, and then you specify what kind of action. Let's say, for example, we call it view, right? Okay, so that we created the intent, we created the action, right? And then similarly, I need a category name, and that's the default category. Here it is. I'll just use the default category, right? So I could do the same thing here. Let me close them like this. Okay, so I created the default category, and I created, this is my action. So this is a customized action that I created, right? That this package name, and it's a view, right? So basically that's my action. So now how do I change the code to when you click this button, when you click the button inside the main activity, that it should go transition to the second activity, but using an implicit intent. So basically in the explicit intent, you specify the class name, right? So instead, what we're going to do is, let's say new, we need an intent, right? And let's see what kinds of intents are there. One of them gets a string, and that string is an action. So basically that's what we're going to do. So that's the string, and this is the action string. So basically here we are, and then we need to specify the category, add category, and this is we want the category default, category default. We just need to add the default category, and basically that's it. So basically all what we did here is that we are telling the system that find an activity that is able to address this action. So what the Android system will do is will go in the manifest, and then it will see who has advertised, which activity has advertised, an intent filter that indicates that they are able to handle this action, and category, of course, right? So then when we run it, let's see. So when it runs, you got to see the main activity, and then when you click on the second activity, it opens up the second activity. Perfect. So now this is called an implicit intent. Just to demonstrate this also, let's create a third activity. So I'll go here, create a new activity and empty activity. I'll call it third activity, right? So I'll call it third activity. Here we are, and finish. Okay, so now we have a third activity, right? And let's say we set title for that to be third activity. Okay, so now and also inside the manifest, I'll go in, you'll see it already created a third activity for us. Let's say the third activity also advertises exactly the same intent filter. So this means that both of these activities are able to handle the view action. Okay, so now if we run this app, which one is going to display? All right, so let's see. When you click the button, which one is going to display? Basically, when you click on it, it's going to this is an implicit intent, so it's trying to find out who can satisfy this kind of action, right? So when I click on here, it says, ooh, there are two activities that can satisfy this one and this one. Basically, it should show the name of the activity, and we can change it to do that. But anyhow, if I pick this one, say for example, and I say just once, it shows the second activity. Okay, cool. So I pick the second one. Let's pick the first one. Okay, so I scroll down, I'll pick this one, and it shows the third activity. So basically, because both of them advertise that's what's causing both of them advertise the same action. Then you get to select which one you want. So I click here, and then it shows I can pick this one, and it shows this one, and then I can pick the other one. So go back to the second activity, I can pick this one, and boom, it shows the third activity. So basically, that is what is an implicit intent. An implicit intent, you don't use the class name. Instead, you have to edit the manifest, and basically all what you're doing is you're creating an intent filter, specifying an action and a category, and then using these actions and categories when you are trying to trigger this or start this activity using an implicit intent. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.